The College Football Playoff Selection Committee joined us now. Mack, we talked a little bit earlier, right before the show, about the new enhanced metrics that the committee is using, the difference in the way strength of schedule is evaluated, and for the first time, the metric you were calling record strength. How well did you play against your schedule? Given those metrics, who did that have the biggest impact on in terms of evaluation, the new enhanced version of the metrics?
Well, one, great to be with you, Rece, and Booger and Greg and Joey. And Greg, by the way, I agree completely with you. But to your question, Rece, for example, it came up when we talked about Oregon. And Oregon, when you look at them in the top 10, are lowest ranked in terms of record strength. And so the committee had a lot of conversation, rigorous debate, conversation about, Oregon as a team. And, we're blessed to have three coaches in the room and looking at the tape. And when you looked at Oregon, great players at the skill position, felt that they're really, really good up front, both sides of the ball. Their one loss is to our number 2 ranked team, Indiana. And so, again, when we looked and evaluated Oregon, we really looked, in terms of just quality of team and how they looked on film.
Okay, so Oregon's only loss is to Indiana. So let's talk a little bit about the 3 highest ranked teams. Joey's pointed out many of the metrics, assuming they mirror what was in the room, would favor Texas A&M. I think all of us who watched Ohio State and Indiana play, it's hard to argue with them. How did the metrics weigh against the football judgment in the room of watching those 2 teams from the Big Ten play?
Yeah, we had, robust discussion about the 3 of them. Obviously, all 3 undefeated. We had great discussion about them on Monday. We certainly came back today. We really felt like the committee that Ohio State and Indiana were close. When you looked at the statistical data, both offensively and defensively, 2 teams, both in the top 5 offensively, 2 teams, both in the top 5 defensively, both with really good wins. Ohio State, a win against Washington and certainly against Texas. Indiana, a win against Oregon and Iowa. But when we again looked at tape, we looked at metrics. We felt like Ohio State a little bit better up front on the offensive line, and we thought they were better defensively. And then when we looked at statistics and we included Texas A&M as part of the discussion. Again, we just felt like the separator there was defensively, and that those 2 teams, both Ohio State and Indiana, were better defensively. So you're talking about 3 great teams, 3 deserving teams. And we really had, again, great discussion, great debate about the 3.
You've got a handful of one-loss teams ranked above an undefeated BYU. You have some 2-loss teams ranked ahead of one-loss teams. How cognizant is the discussion in the room at sort of getting away from what has really been part of the DNA of evaluating college football teams for more than a century of, well, they're undefeated. Well, they have fewer losses. Everybody has a tough time playing the schedule. How cognizant is the committee of not just counting losses?
Yeah, I think it's always part of the discussion when we're talking about wins and losses. That's extremely important. But again, we have a variety of tools at our disposal, and so not one is weighted more than the other. We're sitting here and we're looking at head-to-head. We're looking at common opponent. We're looking at schedule strength. We're looking at record strength. We're looking at all of the analytics, and so we truly try to look at each team on its own and its body of work, And I think that's why we wait as a committee, CFP, to begin our rankings, at this point in time of the year where we've got a body of work that we can look at for each of the teams.
Mack, we appreciate your time. We'll do it next week. I'm sure everything will go just as predicted, and this will be easy for you next week. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you all.
All right, that is Mack Rhoades. He is in